Okay, so we're up to chapter 20, verse 14. Vayishlach Moshe Malachim Mikadesh al Melech Edom. So Moshe, now Moshe was now just told that he's not going to go into the land because of the waters of Mei Meriva. Well, actually, Elliot, you can read the Rashi now. This is a very difficult passage we're about to read. Moshe sent messages from Kadesh to the king of Edom saying, and this is what your brother Israel said. You know all of the hardship that has befallen us. So let's see what Rashi says. Let's look at the Rashis. Yeah. Why is he saying all of a sudden, your brother, this is what your brother says to the king of Edom, that why is he all of a sudden calling himself Edom's brother? Why specifically here? So he says, Rashi has a very beautiful explanation that he says, you know what happened to us? Why is he saying to Edom here, this is your brother Israel? Because who's Edom? Esau. So he says, both of us were brothers, were children of Avram. And Avram was told that his descendants would go to Egypt. So you and I both had the same obligation to go to Egypt, but only I paid that debt. So now, therefore, you should have mercy on me. That's what Moshe is saying. You follow that, Elliot? What? We'll read in the Rashi. He says, why is Moshe all of a sudden highlighting that he's Edom's brother? Because Amarlo, Achim Anachnu, B'nei Avram. He said, we're both the children of Abraham. We're both brothers, the children of Abraham. About whom it said, Kigeri Zaracha. About Abraham, it said, your descendants are going to go into Egypt. So you were also supposed to go into Egypt with me to pay off the debt of Abraham. God said to Abraham, your children have to go into Egypt. That's a debt. So you, just like I went to Egypt, you were supposed to share that. Both of us have to pay that debt. So therefore, you owe it to us to let us pass through, because you really should have been in Egypt with us. We took it for the team. So therefore, you have to take it for the team and let us pass through. You follow that? Okay. So now keep going. So you know all the hardship that we went through. Yeah, so Rashi, the Midrash, saying a very creative explanation here. He's saying, why did Esau leave? He left because he didn't want to pay this debt. That the obligation to go into Egypt was something that Yaakov and Esau both knew was their responsibility as descendants of Avram. So you know, Rashi says, you know about all the hardship that was coming to us, but therefore you left. That's why your father left, as it says, Vayeochel Eretz B'nei Yaakov Achiv. Now, that Esau went ahead on account of Yaakov, his brother, and Rashi says, B'nei Shtar Chov. They had a promissory note. They had to pay off their debt, and Esau didn't want any part of it. And he placed it on Jacob. The problem with this explanation is that the text in Vayishlach makes it clear that Esau wanted Yaakov to go with him, and Yaakov didn't want to go. So it makes it a little bit challenging with this Midrash, but that's what the Midrash is saying. So basically, he's not appealing, according to the literal text of these verses, Esav is appealing, that Yaakov is appealing to the sympathy of Edom. But according to the Rashi, he's appealing to justice, not sympathy. Because you're never going to get sympathy from Esav. He wants justice. So that's a very big distinction. You go on. Our forefathers went down to Egypt, and we stayed in Egypt for many days. We're into chapter 20, verse 15. And our forefathers went down to Egypt, and we stayed in Egypt for many days. And the Egyptians were bad to us and to our forefathers. Okay, let's Elliot read that Rashi. We suffered lots. We suffered many problems. Okay, so this is a very interesting phrase. You might have thought that this is just an innocuous phrase. And it says, the Egyptians were bad to us and to our ancestors. But 1 second. What do you mean they were bad to our forefathers? So Rashi says, from here we learn that our forefathers were feeling the pain in the grave. That this doesn't refer to the enslaved ancestors of the generation of the wilderness who died out before they were released, but it refers back to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and even though they were dead, they were feeling the pain. Meaning to say, why is this the case? Why does Rashi give such an explanation? It's based upon the Tanchuma, because the pasuk reads, "Vayarei lanu Mitzrim v'la avosenu." They did evil to us and to our forefathers. So if it had meant that they did evil to, let's say, their parents and their grandparents, it would have said they did evil to our forefathers and to us, to our let's say parents and to us, because first they did the evil to their parents or grandparents, and then it was to us chronologically. But it doesn't say that. It says you did evil to us and then to our parents or grandparents. But that doesn't make sense because the parents and grandparents are already dead. So therefore, Rashi's telling us it means that after the Egyptians did evil to us, to this generation of the wilderness, then there was tremendous pain felt by the avos who were in the graves. And this teaches us that even when you're in the grave, you can feel pain. That's a very beautiful reading by the Midrash and by Rashi. V'nitzak el Hashem, and we cried out to God, v'yishma koleinu, He heard our voice, v'yishlach malach, v'yotzienu mitzrayim, v'nei anachnu b'kadesh ir katzei gvulecha. He said, we cried out to God, He heard our voice, He sent an angel, or it doesn't mean an angel here, it means an emissary, a shliach, let us out from Egypt. V'nei anachnu b'kadesh, we're in Kadesh, a city at the end of your border. Rashi says, so Akim. Okay, so Rashi tells us, what does it mean when He heard our voice? Rashi's saying that this is a reference to the phrase "Akol Kol Yaakov." The voice is the voice of Jacob back in Bereshis when Yitzchak blessed Yaakov, and this tells us that whenever we cry out, we will be answered. Because it could have said "Vayishma Eleinu," but it says "Vayishma Kolenu." It's alluding to the special quality of Yaakov's voice, which tells us that the prayers are heard. and malach, and then it says he sent a malach, a messenger. This refers to Moshe. So we see from here that prophets are called malachim, angels. Okay. Right. We're in chapter 20, verse 17. Yes. Right. It is unusual. Mordechai is correct. That's why Rashi has to bring a proof that a prophet is called an angel by quoting a pasuk from Divrei Hayamim, chapter 36. Okay, the next pasuk says, we want to pass through your land. We're not going to go. You have the place, Jonah? Yud Zayin. Says we want to pass through the land. We don't want to pass through your fields or your vineyards. We don't want to drink the water of the well. We're going to go the path of the king. See what that is? We're not going to go to the right or left until we pass through your boundary. Basically, they are begging. They're saying, just let us pass through on your highways. Let us use your airspace. We're not going to disturb anyone. Hello, Eliezer. Remind me before we stop. I'm going to tell you this story. I'm going to tell you a good story. You'll like it. So will Jonah. Elliot and Mordechai have even heard it. Okay, so he says, we want to walk through your land. Let's see what the Rashi says here, Elliot. Navrana Baratzecha. Meaning to say, you have your land. You should stay out of it. You have no reason to challenge our right to inherit the land. You didn't pay the debt. What was the debt? Spending 400 years in Egypt or 210 years. Give us a little bit of assistance to go through your land. We're not going to drink your water. What does that mean? It should have said in the plural. It should have said your waters. Why a well? Man. Even though we have man to eat and a well for drinking, we're not going to drink our own. We're not going to drink our own water. We're going to buy from you. Even though we have enough on our own, we don't need to buy anything, but we're going to buy to support the local merchants. So go on, Elliot. Right. So he says, he basically teaches us that from the fact that he says, we're not going to drink water of a well. It should have said, we're not going to drink the waters of your cisterns. But instead it says, we're not going to drink the water of a well, meaning our own well, because they had a well that traveled around with them. We're not going to drink our own water. We're going to buy your water. We're going to support your economy. From here we see fundamental idea that when you go to an inn, you're supposed to buy from the shopkeepers there. You have to support the local businesses. Okay, so when you visit DC, don't bring your water from New York. Buy it from the local deli. That's what Rashi's saying. Buy from the people who are hosting you. Except if you're visiting me, I always like a good deli sandwich from New York, so you could bring a nice deli sandwich from New York. I like Matis and Shaloms too. I'm not saying anything about them. I'm just saying I sometimes miss a good pastrami sandwich from Gottlieb's in Williamsburg. They make the best pastrami sandwich I ever had. Yoda Schimmel Knishes. Knishes. I mean, I like potato knish, but yeah. Yeah, very good, very good. Okay. Okay. So Derech HaMelech Nelech. Read that next one, Elliot.
Anu who's being
Right, he says, we're going to muzzle our animals. We're not going to eat from, we're going to support your economy, and we're not going to eat from your food. And of course, the Edomites are not going to allow them. We're in chapter 20, verse 18. This is like today, when the people boycott the Jews, even though the Jews say, we'll support your economy, we'll buy your stuff, we'll do business with you, but they will they'll spite themselves because that's how much they hate the Jews. Hatred is a stronger passion than love. That's very sad, but true statement. So does hatred. Unfortunately, it's explosive and it's passionate. Okay, but that's what we have to. Love is harder. It's so much harder to love than it is to hate. Hate is very easy. Love, you always have to work on. You always have to work on for love. It's not easy, but hate takes no energy. You hate, no big deal. It's so easy to hate. You can always keep a hate going. Keep love going. You have to work. So yeah, but according to the pain is the reward. We have to work for it. Anything of value, you have to work for it, Aaron. You got to work for it. How was bingo? All right, good. All right.
You say bingo?
Bingo. He went to bingo yesterday. He went to the greatest, like a Jewish Costco in Lakewood, kosher Costco. It's in Lakewood. I mean, there's ones all over. There's Muncie, bingo. Yeah, you would like it a lot. They got all the great stuff. Very cheap. By the way, Aviva and Mordechai, did you see the terrible story on the cruise? A kid fell off into the water. You saw that? It was a Disney cruise. A 4-year-old fell off into the water, and the father jumped down and saved her. Yeah, but you have to be very careful on the cruises because I know you guys like your cruises. Don't go near the edge. No, yeah, you can fall off. They had it in the what? Yeah, it's very dangerous. This girl fell in. She fell in, but her father jumped in and saved her. It was good. If you could see the video, I didn't see the video. My daughter said she saw it on the TikTok. Yeah. Okay, the next pasuk says, "Vayomer love Edom lo tavor." Edom says, "You will not cross." If you cross, I'm going to go out to greet you with a sword. Okay, Elliot, please read for us. 18, the Rashi. Okay, so Rashi's emphasizing that Esav says, I'm going to go out to greet you with the sword. And so Rashi says that they said, you're coming at us with what your father left you. What did your father leave us? What did your father leave to his descendants? The voice of prayer, the call. When the Edom says, what did my father leave us? My father left us the sword, as it says in the pasuk, the children of Israel said, now, we're going to go up on the highway. We're not bothering you. And if we drink your water, if I or my father drink your water, we'll pay for it. There's nothing here. Let us just pass. Let's just use your airspace. Rashi says, there's no bother here. There's no damage. This is like mamish anti-Semitism. You see this. You see this over and over again. Next pasuk says, "Vayomer lo tavor." They said you cannot pass. Vayetze Edom lekroso ba'am kavedu v'yad chazaka. So Edom comes out to greet them with many people and with a strong hand. Rashi says, keep going, Elliot. Read the Rashi. Pasuk Chof. V'havtachat. Ve'yadayim ve'esav. He said they went out with the promise of our grandfather, with the hands on the hands of Esau. So they go right out. They go on. Edom, and Edom refused to allow, and they told Israel, below. Israel Edom refused to allow Jewish people to pass, and they didn't. They didn't attack. They went to the side. Why? Why didn't they fight? I guess they didn't want to. They weren't told to. So they didn't go that way. Okay, next pasuk. Vayisumi Kadesh. They traveled pasuk Chafet. They traveled from Kadesh. Vayavo b'nei Israel kol eda Hor Hahar, and they came to Hor Hahar. Do you know where Hor Hahar is today? Hor Hahar is today, I believe, actually, it's in Jordan, and what happened is this is where Aaron was buried, and I know of some people who've gone, groups of Kohanim, to go there to go into the cave of Aaron, where Aaron's buried, and to give the Birkat Kohanim. And it's a little dangerous because it's in Jordan. Saudi Arabia, I had no concerns about going there. It was totally safe when I went there to the Har Sinai. But the mashkiach, who was making sure our hotel was kosher, he travels through all the Arab countries, and he says he always wears his kippah. He says the only place he feels unsafe is in Jordan, because Jordan's the majority is Palestinian, so they don't really like having the Jews in their territories. So anyway, he said he was part of a group that went to Hor Hahar, where they went into that mountain. Anybody want to go there with me? With the Kohanim? Yeah, we should go. I mean, maybe after the ceasefire. Let's wait till after the ceasefire. Yeah, well, yeah. When I went to Saudi Arabia, it was one of the most amazing trips. I loved it. Well, no. I went in Saudi Arabia. This was a story. I went in this town called Tabuk in Saudi Arabia town. Like a couple million people. I don't know how many people there are. Big town, big city. And I went out, and there was a store that's like the size of our base that sold dates. Many, many different types of dates. And I wanted to bring something back to the yeshiva from Saudi Arabia. So I picked up like a box. He was telling me what the different dates are, through Google Translate. And then I went to buy it. He had a nice box of dates. Beautiful box. And I went to pay, and he said, "No, it's my gift." And I'm like, this is a store, not somebody's home. But they don't see too many Jews in Tabuk. So he was very happy that I was there. They didn't even know, like we said, we're Jewish. They said, "What's Jewish?" They didn't even know. Everybody in Saudi Arabia, it's a very monolithic society. Like they don't have a lot of they don't have any Christian. You're not allowed to practice any other faith there. You're not allowed to practice Judaism or Islam there. I mean, in private, they let us pray, but they don't. I'm saying everybody looks the same. That's what I was trying to say. They don't have like people who look different. Like in America, you walk down the street and you have 20 different nationalities. But in Saudi Arabia, you don't have that. So he was excited that I was there. Anyway, it says, Vayisumi Kadesh, he traveled. So it came to Hor Hahar. Rashi says, the entire assembly came, kulam shleimim. All of them came whole. They were ready to enter the land. They said everybody had died out. This was the new generation, except for who's still alive from the old generation. Who's still alive? Moshe and Aaron. Now Aaron's going to die, and also, of course, the women. There were women who were still alive because they weren't part of the decree. And Hor Hahar, why is it called Hor Hahar? Rashi says Hor al Gabe Har. It's a mountain on top of a mountain. Kitapuach katan al Gabe tapuach gadol, like a small mound on top of a large mound. Even though the cloud was going before them, three mountains remained. Even though the cloud was knocking down all the mountains, there were three mountains that were not leveled. What were they? Har Sinai, Hor Hahar, and Har Nevo with Flores Moshe. So the three mountains that weren't leveled by the cloud were Mount Sinai, Mount Hor Hahar to bury Aaron, and Mount Nevo for Moshe. Okay, I promise I'll tell Eliezer a story, so I'll tell you guys the story.